Here's B16 Rebuild Part 2! Warning. I'm gonna talk a bunch. Except for you got shafted because I fully assembled it because I'm a terrible YouTuber and I'm not really a YouTuber. So I'll just tell you about it. I'm sorry. It's pretty much done. So, like I said, did the B16A3 block, and it's a B16A head, OBD1, 94, some sort of JDM, which I know makes no difference. And I put OBD1 cams in it, and so everything is done. The pistons are in. I have ARP rod bolts in there and nipping. I was gonna go with B16B pistons, but I decided screw that. I bought some P30 pistons, and I actually have, and don't mind all this mess and stuff. And I have a garage, but it's cold, so, oh wait, I'm not showing you this. I have a P30 ECU, the original ECU. That would be for, you know, I mean, I think it should be pretty well set up for this because it's not a B16A, but it has P30 pistons, which is what that ECU would be linked to. And also, you know, it has the OBD1 cams, B16A, and that's an OBD1 ECU. It does not have the barometric pressure sensor, or however you say that. So that might be some sort of problem, but I'm gonna try to run it, see what happens, so I don't need a tune. So, yep, the P30 pistons and the ARP rod bolts, and I put ACL main bearings in it. Everything's new. We got an OEM rear main seal. It has an OEM new oil pump, which is actually OBD2 B16, so it has the the crank angle position sensor provisions, but I'm gonna run it OBD1, so I think it was just cheaper. I think I paid $160 for it, and I put a new OEM water pump. It's got a Gates timing belt, Koyo tensioner. Look at that, just shine, beautiful shine. Here's a cool thing I did. So only the OBD0 B16As come with oil coolers, and probably the B16Bs. So I took this off of the OBD0 B16A I had. Got the factory oil cooler dripping at us. And I bought these hoses, new OEM, for GSR because the 94 and 95 USDM GSRs come with that. So I was able to get the OEM hoses, because mine were missing. I spent forever looking for the O-ring for this, where this seals to the block. I could have bought a new one, but I did not. And looking for this piece. I took it off a year ago, and this is exactly where I left it a year ago after an hour of searching. I got some freaking beautiful jewelry right here. Like, I don't care about shoes and clothes, and you know, but I got some beautiful bolts. I care about that new OEM-ness, because you know the half shaft bolts. I have knock sensor there because that ECU has a knock board. That ECU is actually socketed, chipped, but I'm just gonna cut a little deal and then it's gonna revert back to the stock tune. So it has a Blocks intake manifold that I picked up for about 40 bucks. And I think this is a Type R throttle body because it's, my little gauge thing's about dead, so it's dim, but it's like 60, this is not easy. Yeah, it's actually easy. 60, it's just 61.5, and I guess Type R is, I think, 62, and like it just doesn't make sense that it's 61.5, but I think it might be Type R, but who cares anyways. Let's see. It is a little bit bigger diameter than my, I'm sorry, it's a little bit smaller diameter than my intake manifold, and I don't really care. And there's something in there, but it's not gonna hurt it. I ran a fuel rail that does not have the fuel injector damper, like this little guy. And I mean, it's pretty, I don't know, I think I'm gonna be okay without it. I just have some 240cc stock injectors. New OEM PCV valve, look at that shit, you know, it's all plumbed up properly. No hack shit with this hose going around and all that. And yep, this water pipe is specific to using an oil cooler because it has the barb for the oil cooler. And also this fitting right there is an OEM, you know, fitting that I had to find. The water pipe had a thermostat housing on it that had a barb right here. And at first I put that on, and then I had my water neck for the upper hose that also had a barb, which came out of there, but I ended up putting a different thermostat housing on that doesn't have the barb, and I had another water neck for a B16 that did not have the barb. And I think I'm gonna be fine. So I just have, here's my water pipe to idler control valve. And just don't mind that not being perfect. And that, idler control valve to throttle body to intake manifold. I got a new OEM thermostat in there. That's kind of cool, isn't it? Yeah, that's cool. And I just installed a new VTEC solenoid gasket. I was gonna reuse one, but I got a new one. I have my power steering bracket. I'm gonna run this in a car with power steering. This is a Type R power steering pump, and it's beautiful because unlike some B-Series pumps, the D-Series high pressure power steering hose bolts onto this because it's either like these bolt holes are offset a little bit from the circle or not, but it bolts right on, so there's no modification needed there. I did bolt this all together and put the oil pan on before I was actually happy with how much it took to turn the crank, and I was just bolting it together saying, oh yes, yeah, everything's fine, because I didn't want to face reality. So I left it sit for like 4 months, and then I came back to it. I took the oil pan off, I took everything apart, and that's when I decided to do the P30 pistons and everything. I do have the crank spinning pretty freely, like it has spark plugs and all that in it now, so it's hard to turn it. But when I put it back together, I reused the oil pan gasket. And that was a big no-no. I mean, really, it probably would have been fine. Could be fine, but yeah, it's just bad. So here I have another OEM oil pan gasket. This oil pan gasket was actually surprisingly pretty hard for never having any heat cycles through it. So I'm about to replace that, and I'll show you up in there. I have a nice Type R OEM spark plug cover, and if you ever look on the bottom of one of these, the OEM ones, right here on the underside, there's a little Japanese guy with a boner, and he's really excited about it. If you wonder what that means, you're just gonna have to look underneath one of them. So I have some new spark plugs in there, a new valve cover gasket, new spark plug tube, well, seals, and new valve stem seals, and the valve cover gasket, and these grommets. And I even, you know what, I'll show you the Japanese man with the boner, because I want to show you something. Just gotta find my 10 millimeter. Oh, there it is. Don't run away. All right. I had, like, somebody had previously disassembled a B series, and I had a lot of bolts and bags labeled and stuff, but they were missing one of these nuts, and these are specific because there's like spacer nuts to accommodate for this and not busting the top of your acorn nuts. So I got one freaking brand new shiny one. Everything must be perfect. You know, I even got my shits there. I have no idea what this is. Actually, that was this original. When the temporary one was there, I had a bolt there temporarily. Oh, I was gonna show you the Japanese man. There he is, Mr. Japanese Honda Man. See, there's the nutsack, there's the dick. This is the direction in which it goes. Up, very excited. Very excited. Someone please translate that for me in that. So that's on the underside of all these Type R valve covers. Got my $300 magnet here. So that's it. I'm pretty excited. I'm about to flip it over and redo the oil pan gasket. Here's how it looks upside down and the cat. And I very gently set it on my pressure switch. I have this Blox magnetic oil. What is wrong? Oil drain plug, which is supposed to be good for break-in, but it just came on an oil pan that I had. This whole engine is assembled probably from like 8 different Hondas. Like, you know, the rear main seal's from a different one, the oil pan's from a different thing, the head's from a different, the crank's from a different thing. Everything's different, and it's kind of cool. Ouch. I guess you're not going to be able to see, you know, the pretty rod bolts, but they're just rod bolts right there. There's my oil pan with some, like, you know, I poured some oil on the rocker arm assemblies, missing some paint. When I took the oil pan out just now, it came off very easily, and usually you kind of have to fight it a little bit. The oil pan gasket was squishing out over here, and I don't know exactly what the deal was, but it was kind of contaminated, you know, with oil, and everything should be dry. So, you know, online people show like diagrams, torquing diagrams for all these bolts, crisscross and all that. But in this factory service manual there for B16, it says tighten 1, 2, and I don't know, 3 and 4 something. It says tighten in 4 spots, and then tighten it in a circle in 2 passes. And that's what I'm gonna do. So I am cleaning the surface. I got some carb cleaner on this rag. I've cleaned off most of the RTV. There's a little bit more I need to clean off the old RTV. Just getting all the oils off the surface. There's a lot. And I'll clean the oil pan next, and we'll just reseal this back up with our new OEM oil pan gasket. Okay, so this is clean, oil-free, except for the oil on there for my finger now. And this oil pan is clean around there. So, since I have some oil in here from, you know, 2015. Oil in my head, no, not from 2015, I'm going to turn the motor sideways so that hopefully when I'm bolting this on, no oil leaks down into my gasket and contaminates the surface or the other one. So, only place you need RTV or Honda Bond, whichever. I really have nothing bad to say about RTV. Is on this seam right here, because of this difference in layer or height, and the opposite seam, and the same deal for the oil pump. There, just here. And if you put a bunch, it's gonna squish out like that. There's my rear main seal, RTV that's squished out. And some of that might break free eventually. So the lesser, the better. Here's my skiffs of RTV. And that one is still thick, but it'll just squish right down. There's my other skiff, And you remember how I rested my engine on my oil pressure sitting in it? Well, I just, where's that? I just broke it a little bit. So, that's life. Nope. I'm putting it flat. I should probably talk because you're probably bored or something, so yeah, well, when you're torquing down your oil pan, you want to make sure it doesn't squish out. And also, just full disclosure, I am not a professional. I'm just pretty alright. These are all my methods and tactics and thoughts. So also I would love if all these bolts were cleaned and beautiful, but I'll do that on my next build. Everything will be beautiful. This stupid gasket is like 30 bucks, usually about 30 bucks or so, but somebody on eBay, someone like me, bought it and ended up not using it, so I bought it from a person on eBay for like 23 bucks. Oh, so I saved, you know, a couple dollars. I'm gonna run these all down just till they're flush. Okay, now I don't remember what this book says about you know, which 4 bolts or nuts or bolts it is to start with. This is my, I'm gonna call it an OEM book because I like OEM stuff. So just for the hell of it, I'm gonna go and find out. These pages got ran down. I'm going to find out which bolts. Oh, there we go. Oil pan installation. B16A2. Oil pan gasket. Step 3. Tighten the bolts and nuts. Finger tight at 8. That's 6 points as shown. Okay, 6 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tighten all bolts and nuts, starting from number 1, clockwise in 3 steps. Excessive tightening can cause distortion of the oil pan gasket and oil leakage. So, 3 steps. So you just want to tighten them a smidget. Smidget. So, I'm going to call this 1, I just barely felt a little bit of torque. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now we're gonna do what it says. Blah blah blah. 1. I'm just gonna 2. It does give you a torque spec, but I don't like using that. I've tried it before, and it seems like the gasket squishes out by the end. So I just do it by feel. Anyways, you get the idea. So I'm gonna go around this just lightly like this, just a little bit. And then I'll get to number 1 and I'll go around it again. Keeping in mind that I'm gonna go around it again. And on that 3rd time, everything's just gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be perfect. There's gonna be Mighty Car Mods unicorns, VTEC, and then I'm going to show you what it costed me to build this engine, just in case you're curious. And that first video I posted, I think it was back in like February, and it just took me forever to do this because I was doing other things. I'm doing a turbo build too. That's my next deal you're gonna see. So now I went 2 times around. And you can actually like look at the gasket and just make sure you're not squishing it out. Like that. Oh, sorry. That almost got squishy. But I'm on the final stage, so. I'm so sorry. I'm a terrible cameraman. And I don't have the flash on for you. Okay. I'm doing a stage 4 oil pan gasket. Just a little bit more. Beautiful. Everything's beautiful. All right, so I am going over what it cost me to rebuild this B16. You know, first I got these CTR pistons in 81.25 by Nippon. They were 150 bucks and came with, you know, pistons, rings, piston pins, and I put them in, and first thing was the rings did not give me, they gave me too much end gap, and there was nothing I could do about it. I was already 81.25, and they were supposed to be for an 81.25, so I was not happy with that. And I searched around, and let me recommend, if you're going to rebuild a B series, do not do 81.25, because it's a pain in the ass to find rings in this size. The only rings I found were these Nippon ones that sucked, OEM, which is like, I don't know, 55 bucks a hole or so, or Wiseco. And the Wiseco was like 35 bucks a hole. So I ended up buying those, put them in. They all gapped great. There was like 1 ring I had to file. Everything else was in spec. So that was 150 bucks. The machine shop labor, which I think is a pretty good deal, was $170. That is hot tank, deck, bore, hone. I guess that's it. So 170 bucks. Oh, and they were, you know, supposed to set the piston to wall clearance. with the pistons I provided when I dropped off the block. But when I brought the pistons home, I was not happy with the piston to wall clearance. It just seemed too tight. According to all my measurements, it was not in spec. So I went back there. I'll tell you about that. So I bought ARP rod bolts, and I'd never used them before. So after buying them and having them in my hand, I realized, oh shit, these need to be resized, the rods. Because what happens is when you, I mean, maybe you already know, but I'm telling the people who don't. When you take your rod and you put a rod bolt in it, which, you know, you can torque it more, which is more better apparently. So you torque it more, and now this circle very minutely becomes out of round. It's no longer a circle, it's more of an oval. So what they do at the machine shop is they torque it, and, you know, just as you would when it's installed. And then they make this circle true again. Because the stock rod bolts are like, I don't know, 25 foot-pounds, I have no idea. And the ARP is more like 40 foot-pounds, or actually it's like 50, so you could probably imagine how it would out of round this. So at the machine shop, they make it round. That's why you can't just stick ARP rod bolts in. It'd be good. So I brought my rods back to the machine shop, which had my Nippon CTR pistons on. I also had them hang it, part of that $170 price tag. By hang it, I mean put the new pistons on the rods, and I brought them back, had them resize them. Cool. And just so you know, the CTR pistons have a smaller, oh gosh, this is terrible. They have a smaller, hold on now. This area to this area is skinnier. So the CTR rods have a skinnier small end to their rods. So I didn't realize that until it wouldn't fit, and I had them shave some off of the rod on this side and this side so that they would fit. I'm just going on now. Okay, oil filter, $7. Water pipe O-rings, $6. That's for the end of the water pipe on each side. Timing belt, I bought a Gates timing belt, $23 from eBay. Thermostat, PCV, rear main seal, etc. OEM Honda parts, $115 from the interwebs. I bought ACL, main, rod, and thrust washers, and they were $46. And I am saying that the block, head, and crank, like kind of core sort of thing, and head gasket kit, which is a Cometic Pro Street 82 millimeter. Even though my board is 81.25, because I got this kit for $30. So anyways, $380. I'm saying the head, block, crank, head gasket kit. Intake manifold. I kind of already had it sort of, so now I'm just saying $100. Tensioner is Koyo, $34. Main bearings again. It says that in my notes, main bearings again, because I read my factory service manual wrong, and I torqued the main bolts to like 70 foot-pounds, or maybe 72. And in my factory service manual, it says torque 72 Newton meters or 56 foot-pounds, something like that. So I realized that I had torqued it to the wrong spec, and I was worried that, remember I was talking about the rods and out of rounding and stuff, I was worried I kind of squished the bearings in all the wrong ways, and they're cheap enough. So I just bought a new set of main bearings, $16. Piston rings again. Now that's when I realized I needed the Wiseco, or I bought the Wiseco piston rings that gapped out beautifully. Apparently I went back and got those rods resized later, like I had said. That was $20, and I had it honed again because I was not happy with the piston wall clearance. That was $40, and then I decided, screw the CTR rep pistons. I'm just gonna put P30 pistons in. So I bought Nippon P30 pistons. It was like $160. I asked for no rings. And then I brought them to the machine shop again and have them take off the CTR pistons, put the nip and P30 on, and it was 10 bucks for them to hang them. Pretty good deal. So then I assembled all of it, and I realized I needed a few things like the oil cooler hoses and a few bolts and stuff, and that was another $95. And in the end, I think it's right about $2,000. Some of it was wasted, like when I needed to hone again, and new piston rings and new main bearings and all that. So tomorrow I think I'm gonna be able to start it up. I have a flywheel, factory flywheel, that's at the machine shop right now. I'm gonna give them about 40 bucks to refinish it. I bought the cheapest clutch you can get on eBay because I don't care. If it breaks, I'll fix it. And it's probably not going to. I've had decent luck running the stupid XTD clutches. So I'll run that. I have the factory flywheel, and tomorrow I'm gonna install this in my car temporarily. It'll be my temporary NA engine. Because after this will be turbo, lots of turbo. I have a GSR that I'm building. And you'll see that. So see you tomorrow. Wait, I'll show you this. Type R. Look, it's Type R. It's dark, but it's Type R. Oh my God, is that a Type R? Yeah, it's a Type R. It's Type R. I'm selling it. This was in my blue car that you'll see for 2 years, and it was wonderful, but now I'm selling it. I'm putting this B16 in. It's just so backwards, but it's because I'm gonna turbo soon and I need the money. Here's a B16 head, which is going on my friend's hatch, doing LSV tech. There's all of the pieces for the head. And there's some blue stuff, and then here I just gave my GSR head to get reconditioned, and there's all the pieces for that, and then there's some parts and stuff, and this bitch beer. Okay, see you later. Bye.